Hey everybody, it's Chief Meteorologist Brad Petovich here. It is December 1st. Can you believe it's finally here? We've had a great start to the season, but as expected with La Nina, we're going to see some mild stretches of weather, and unfortunately one of those is right upon us as we go into the first couple of weeks of December. But it's all not doom and gloom, and I'll tell you why in a second here. But let's look at the long range pattern. So this is basically where our ridges and troughs are. Basically what you want to look at for here is where is the cold air and the warm air. The cooler colors are colder air. Those are dips in the jet stream. Not too bad early on this week, but then notice things flattening out. It gets pretty toasty, especially for North Carolina by late this week. But this is an interesting pattern, and the reason I say this is something I'm keeping an eye on for this upcoming season. It's pretty warm across the southern tier of the country, but this northern branch in northern jet stream is close enough that this is why I think parts of the North Carolina mountains into the Virginias might actually end up having some chances for some good storms this season, even if it's intermittent with some warm stretches, but certainly a warm stretch going into the weekend. But things start to get interesting next week. Early next week, a little dip develops, but a stronger dip in the jet stream starts cranking up mid to late week, and it looks like that could be moving in by later in the period. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at that real quickly. Here comes one cold front Thursday into Friday, relatively dry front, but also very warm. We go into next week. Again, I don't expect any good snowmaking or snow going into the weekend, but after the weekend, here comes that front Sunday and Monday. And if you look closely at this, there's not a ton of moisture with this, but there is enough cold air in this northern part that we could get a quick burst of northwest flow snows for areas up in West Virginia, Maryland, possibly, maybe North Carolina, though the temperatures look really marginal. But what looks even more interesting is late next week, a stronger dip in the jet stream develops. Now, it starts as rain on Wednesday, but as this starts to push through, it does look like on the back side of this Thursday into next Friday, you don't see a lot of snow showing up here, but what I'm looking at is much colder air possibly building in behind this system next weekend. And here's what I'm talking about. I'll show you the temperature forecast. Again, this is not great for the middle of the week. Notice how warm it is across the southeast, some slightly cooler air up to the West Virginia, North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland mountains, but it's pretty mild. That's not ideal for snowmaking. Pretty mild through this week and really warm late week. You could see that warm up taking place on Friday. That's record heat across the southeast. That's a full-on blowtorch for Friday. But going into next week, we start to see chunks of cold air trying to come down into the Great Lakes. The first one kind of misses us to the north, but this second one starts to dive a little bit deeper going into early next week, and you see the cold air trying to return by early next Tuesday. So this is the cold enough for snowmaking. Anytime you see those pinks showing up, that is plenty cold enough for snowmaking. So we're going to be able to regenerate some of this base that we lose this week with the warm up. And that's kind of what you want to see this winter. You know it's going to be warm at times. You just want these warm spells to be short-lived. And then notice going into late next week, this is a really big cool down coming down through the Great Lakes that starts to set up shop going into next weekend. So that first kind of full weekend, which is next weekend, not really this weekend. This, I guess, is the first weekend of December. But after that first week of December, that second weekend looks pretty good right now with cold air. Now, you probably look at these long-range outlooks. I look at them often. The thing you notice that the warm air is starting to build across the south, but notice this little dip up here. This is something to keep an eye on. Do we get this split flow where the warmer air stays just to our south and we're kind of on the edge of it? I do think that's a distinct possibility as we go into the winter months. But certainly December, honestly, it is going to start warmer than average. So we look at that ski forecast. You don't see a lot of blue here because there's not a lot of great snowmaking, but I'll keep my eyes on early next week. Monday, possible man-made snowmaking opportunities and maybe a little bit of natural snow for areas up in West Virginia, and Maryland. So we're in one of those warm spells right now. Let's hope we get out of it quickly. As always, keep thinking snow and don't get down on these warm-ups. This is going to happen this winter. I fully expect to see these warm-ups occur, but I do expect that we're going to see them be transitory and cold air will make a comeback. But there's going to be some of these bouts of warm air. That's a La Nina winter in the southeast.